Good day. Today is Christmas Eve, 2025. So it's the 24th. I am Richard Aguilar Jr., otherwise known as Richard Six, and I have faith in the Most High God, and I always will. And you could say He walks with me. I've developed a relationship with the Most High. It's been an ongoing process since 2010. And what started that was ever since I was a child, I've just been raised continuously in narcissistic, toxic family dynamics, both sides, my mother and father, and then raised in a Mormon church. They used to say, that thou shalt obey thy mother and father. They changed that, now, but even at a young age, I I was never fond of that, because it just screams that I'm property. Um, it doesn't give individuality, and it's like slavery. And I'm no one's slave. I claim being an individual. I always thought that the purpose in our life and experience here on earth is to understand ourselves. Um, they say know thyself, um, but the most awkward and strangest thing is that nobody really does, and that's what I've found over my journey. Um, but yeah, I've had a lot of resistance, um, and that's been my entire life. Um, I had on some heavy points. Uh, I had my two daughters, and that was a 7-year relationship with their mother. It was very hard. Same thing, narcissists, a lot of arguing and stuff. Um, so it got to the point where I had to make the decision to leave because if I would have stayed, I wouldn't have been able to manage my temper because my patience at that time, I wasn't in I wasn't in control of my emotions, so my fuse got shorter. So I had to make that decision to leave because if I would have stayed, it wouldn't. I just wouldn't be able to trust myself, and I didn't want to do anything to harm anybody, So I had to uh, leave the relationship, and so I went through the process of going through a divorce, but it didn't happen until like a year later because my daughters stayed with me, um, and they're doing really well. And this is what was so hurtful uh, was that after a year, their mother came and just took them, and so I went through the court process and got affidavits from the teachers and the principals, and so I went to LA County Court and everything, and it's just they don't care. Uh, they don't care. They don't. The commissioner. They don't verify anything. Even though I had signed affidavits from the principal and the teachers and all that stuff. It didn't matter. So and me, I just being raised and just always fighting and arguing and belittling, and I wanted to be there. I wanted to be father that was there, for my children. But in the world that we've been in, that's it caters towards that. You know, people that destroy each other. You know, so the empath, the one that feels emotions, the one that tells the truth. Those are the ones that are targeted. So um, I've been targeted all my life because they target you for maximum um, impact. They want maximum release. So I've learned a lot of my spirituality um, through movies. I never really liked commercials or anything like that, but movies. um, I learned that after a while that a lot of the truth was in movies, and then I realized a lot of the truth was in books, and I learned this at a young age. So, but John Coffey and the movie The Green Mile. Um, I'm wearing green, but the Green Mile. They say, so John Coffey has the two little girls, and he's showing the vision to Tom Hanks, and he said that Billy Bob, that he killed them with their love, because Billy Bob, he sliced the screen, he walked into the house, and he went to the girl's bedroom. He woke up the first daughter, and he said, if you scream, I'm gonna unalive you. And then he went to the other daughter, woke her up, and then he said the same thing. So since they had loved each other, they didn't scream. So and that's how he was able to do that. And I think that a lot of the most important messages are in the movies. Uh, you know, the Bible. I don't really read the Bible. I did when I was younger, but I always thought that everything's in here. You just got to recall it, um, and choose the right. You know, um, if it doesn't feel right, then don't do it. And I've always had that intact ever since I was a child. Then my grandfather, when I was young, he taught me about karma, and so at a young age, I learned about it really quick. And so, since then, being a truth teller and knowing about karma, I just kind of, I always I just tell the truth. It's just easier. I don't have to remember, all these lies, and I've learned to be very successful by telling the truth. I don't have to lie. I don't have to manipulate. I don't have to do any of those things. So I don't understand why somebody would prefer to lie rather than just being honest. Like I wouldn't want somebody to lie to me, um, like in my music, because music has been my outlet. That's been the way that I change, difficult situations that I go through, difficult parts in my life that I've had. Music has always been the outlet. I learned how to be able to take that pain, that negative energy, and just turn it into a purpose, something that will help somebody. But even in making music, like I've been in some bands before. Nobody ever finishes, and the band will break up. Um, this was funny because I was working on music with a friend of mine, and he said that he had like a CD of like 10 tracks that he made, and it's just music. And he said that he wasn't going to do anything with it, and he said that I could have it if I wanted it, and I could do whatever I wanted uh, with it. So I said, "You sure?" And he said, "Yeah." So cool. So I worked on a lot of different music with them. I mean, on that, I started writing lyrics and stuff, and then you know, I guess this goes with the when I'm around other people, it fills their cup, and they think that they're doing it or whatever. So I didn't know that at that time, but it makes sense now. But so I started writing stuff, and people are like, "Man, that sounds good. I could hear that on the radio." And so then one day he just goes, "You know what? I'm gonna take that music back. I'm not gonna let you have it after all." And so that that kind of took a trend where I have a lot of music and I have vocals that I wrote to music, but I never got quite. I didn't finish some of that, So I've been meaning to, but like I said, my entire life it's been resistance, resistance. This video, I'm not sure how it's going to come out because all the telephone companies in my area, and this is my truth. Um, I've been silenced, illegally. Um, I should be given the right like everybody else, but these these people that are in higher positions, well, they have that narcissistic type persona. So, and that's the bully mentality. If not, they're the enablers, the flying monkeys, um, and they all kind of like work together. Um, but like I've just been going through drama with with T-Mobile and Spectrum and AT&T. They they're CEOs. So it all goes with the secret society and um, the clubs that they run in, and they decided it's a good idea to just sit their companies on top of me to silence me because I didn't I didn't fall like I didn't lay down to their humiliation ritual that they tried to uh, come at me with, and that was it happened in 20 the end of 2022. That's when Paul came. Um, so it was like November. So and and when he showed up, like I knew after a while that something was off, just the way that he was acting and stuff. But so um, 2023, uh, he left in 2024. Uh, yeah, June 2024. But in March, that's when I started seeing the signs. Um, my discernment's always been like very sharp, very very strong. Like I know when somebody's lying. Like the second that somebody lies, I already know. So um, it doesn't matter how much they try to gaslight me and like bringing. Well, in this case, it's like the whole world seems like um, they just bring in like all kinds of people, um, and they try to put their lies on me. But I know the truth, and my life has taught me that um, it's taught me how to trust myself. It's taught me how to learn how to know myself and trust my abilities, and that if I put my mind to something, that I could work on it, and I could learn, and I could do whatever anybody else out there can do, you know. I'm not going to say, better or anything like that, but, um, in some cases, yeah, no, maybe. But I let people decide on stuff like that. Um, I just, I just go and have a good time, and I work on stuff because I want to. I feel interested in it, and I want to do that. You know, it's like working on music. I want it to sound good. You know, and this is where having friends, if they were to lie to me, well, that's going to give me information that's not good, because I'm going to think, oh, my music is good because all these people say it's good. So that's like it gives me a false image of myself. Um, but see, that's how the world is. All these people, they think that, that they're all great, but they have a lot of people that lie to them, so it's like, I don't really understand that concept, because if nobody's ever telling you the truth, then the illusion is that people think that they're good, but they're going based off people that lie to them all the time. So when it goes back to the bullies, because I always had to stand up to bullies, um, it's like fear. They use fear as a tactic, to intimidate people. So then they cower and they bow underneath the individual. So um, the top of that chain, will puff in their chest, and think they think that they're bad. They're badasses. But the people, they're lying to them. Oh yeah, you're good, but is it really the truth? So and I think a lot of people in high positions, they should just really take time, to just think about that, because like, um, in the long run, like, is it really benefiting like everybody? I mean, did it really benefit everybody by using that approach? You know, um, I would say no, like at all. Because it's a disservice. If I lie to somebody, I'm I'm not giving them a service. I'm giving them which is crap. It's pretty much what it is, and that's what I've seen in a lot of the companies, um, a lot of the customer service, technical support. It's crap. Yeah, it's not good. Products, you know, it's like everything is just getting worse and worse over time. You know, so you know, um, with me, since I'm like a sponge for learning. I came up with this saying a long time ago. Um, learn anything and everything from anybody and everybody. It doesn't matter if they're 8 years old or 80 years old, but always continue learning, because the day that you think that you know everything is the day that you know nothing at all. So I like to have a mind like a sponge, and I've always had like the child mentality, not act like a child, but just have that, like, magic is possible, and I could dream to do whatever I want, and I've always believed that, and and then if you go the other route, where if you know everything, well, then your brain becomes like a rock, and you can't penetrate a rock, you know. So people that think they know everything, well, I mean, you can't really tell them anything. They're just going to keep on pushing and pushing until they find out later that they're wrong. But I'm not going to argue with them. So Um, I'm not going to put myself in that position, so it's a waste of time, so, but in the situation that I've been in is, gang stalking. Um, it's like everywhere I go, that's where I've been surrounded my whole life. Where I grew up, La Mirada, and then over here, Monterey Park, um, Alhambra. It's like everywhere that I go, I've called out. I've asked for assistance, and nobody does anything. So the enablers, or it's kind of sad, you know. And I do hope that there's this woman, because they did this frame job where the where I live, the police department, they made a false claim, and so they came and they took me after they said all these lies and stuff, so so they took me overnight for an evaluation, um, you know and I had a feeling it was probably an FBI agent. He said, "Oh, we're going to take you to someplace real nice." So the way that he said it's very arrogant, and he wouldn't tell me what he was taking me in for, but he said that they're going to take me to get checked out overnight, 24 hours, so he didn't tell me what like nobody there told me what I was taken in for. The nurses there, and it's kind of like a jail, 5150. I already assumed that, but they didn't tell me. They didn't tell me what did the officer put on there. He didn't write nothing. Um, so when I was there, you know, the nurses, they triangulate. So the doctor and the nurse, they just wait till you start pushing back on the doctor, and then the nurse gets up. It's like they just want to fight. That's what they do. And then the doctor, like, he wants you to give him urine before he tells you what's going on. It's like, no, why don't you tell me what I was brought in here for? If you're going to evaluate me, why don't you evaluate me? No, I can't tell. You have to give urine. So I'm not going to give you no urine. It's like, I'm going to trust you guys. You guys are like, imprisoning me, and you're not telling me anything. So, but that's what they do, okay? Because they could just put whatever urine there, and they could just claim bullshit, and you're in the system, and then they threaten you. Well, if you don't do that, then you're gonna have to be here for 72 hours. So that's kind of the bullshit that they do. Um, so this is this place in downtown LA, and what's the name of the doctor? Can't remember his name right now. But anyhow, it was like this was on the 3rd, on Saturday. It was about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and this black woman, she came in, and she was crying, and she said she had taken Benadryl, and they're pushing her to take medications, give urine, because they have to give her medications, and she said no, that she didn't want to take any of that. She said, please no, like, all I took was Benadryl. And like, they're like forcing her. And then, she was saying that, at her apartment complex, that the manager would rape her, and, so I walked up there to, try to calm her down a little bit, and then these guys just, they get up like to, want to box me. And I'm just trying to help her to calm down, because, like, I know what they're doing. They're intimidating her. But the thing that fucking sucks is, like, they didn't help her, It's like they go and they fucking turn her over so she could get raped. Like every week, And she's in this system and it's bullshit. And these are the systems that we have here. And instead of systems that are supposed to serve the people, they're abusing them. So the people that have light, people that have intelligence, the abilities, creativity, because light is all those things. You know, feminine raw energy is the creative force where something comes out of nothing and comes into the physical realm. Okay, so it's a feminine raw energy. So it's known as the black. Um, some readers, kind of have it a little bit, the misconception that black as in black women, um, but no, it's not that. It's it's called the black, or it's called the void space, where nothing was there, and through alchemy or through creative processes, you bring something out of nothing, and all of a sudden, boom, comes through your mind and this and that, and you put it together. You work on something, and now you manifested it. You pulled it out of nothing, and now, boom, here it is. Um, and that's how it works. Um, so surface level, when you do black, feminine, well, then it creates this, this conflict between, black, like the race it puts them, it puts them against other races, which that's another thing that fucking sucks, because it's not that, it's just the energy that everybody has. I have it, you know, black people, yellow, it doesn't matter. Like, we all have that, but we have to cultivate it. And then we all have our masculine energy. And that's like, our king energy, our male. Um, the feminine is more like the nurturing and listening and, helping people, like, normally the mother will help the children, understand, different things, so they're more nurturing and stuff, but, anybody could be like that. So like I wasn't like that, or I didn't get that when I was raised. So I learned how to be that. Everything that I never got, I learned how to be. You know, I learned how to be a good listener, so I could help others. And I went through a lot of shit, a lot, and that's where I can help out, like a lot of people, is I could help them figure out problems and do different things, um, figure out situations that'll help them. Any company that I ever went to, right away I start seeing stuff, and I just come up with different ways that they can, that they can make the company work better. Um, you know, uh, I'm a hard worker, but I don't want to work hard all the time. I like to streamline things, but I don't want the quality to be crap. I take pride in what I do. Okay, I think lazy people, well, they say the spirit of pride, because lazy people don't put a lot of effort, and they want to steal shit. They want to take it from people. So lazy people, you know, they do something. Well, they didn't put a lot of time and effort, so their quality work is going to be crap. You know, so they flip it, and so they say pride. So people that do good, it's like, you got to put those people down. But I think it should be. The world is the way that I see it is that there's a lot of lazy people, and I mean, what's going to happen with the world that has like a whole bunch of lazy people? Because like for me, in the humiliation ritual, it's like I'm not going to give up my light, and have faith in the Most High God, and I faith in Him. And if they're going to kill me. I mean, unalive me, whatever. You this is me, authentic. I got my freedom of speech, and sovereign. But I'm not the scapegoat. Not black sheep. Um, Accountability. The people that would just want to take somebody's destiny, and they want to take their light. You're not taking mine. And if I were to be unalived, um, and the Most High, He knows. And I'll tell Him, don't send anybody. Nobody would light, because this is what they're going to do. You know, so there's no point. Don't send anybody. And the reason why that I feel like I heard this video a while back. It was called the Wake Up Call to the Family of Light. It's a message from the Pleiadians, and I resonated with it like a lot. And it's pretty much like a lot of the light workers. They were coming down here, but they weren't really coming back. So this became like a prison planet. And I think that so many angels came, and they just fell under this this trauma that they went through, the humiliation ritual, that they ended up just being trapped here in the prison planet. So like me, but readers, oh, I've done this like many times. I don't think I have, and I don't want to have a reading saying, oh yeah, this life, I would have recalled shit, and I haven't. I've only had one life, and that's the one that I have right now. It's all that I remember. Um, and so me, the way that I know that my thinking is that me, being somebody in the higher realm, just so I'll go down there, and I'll do it, and do what fucking do what I did, and I'll tell you, like, I wouldn't want anybody to go through, what I went through. It, it's not like it's I mean, yeah, I'm proud of my journey, and to make it, this far, but or to proud of what I overcame, you know. But I wouldn't be like, yeah, you should do it. It's a piece of cake. There's a lot of emotional and mental and yeah, physical, psychological, just all this abuse that they throw at you. And this is like people from military, uh, operations and stuff. These guys are like highly trained in that. That's their job. That's what they do. Um, so the severity of it, it's really intense. It's really hard. It's designed to break people. It's designed to destroy them. You know. So that's basically since Paul left in 2024. Ever since then, it's just like these companies they're sitting their companies on top of me. Wells Fargo, same thing. Messing with my bank. Apple Incorporated. Um, like I had this thing that popped up on my MacBook, and it said com.apple, or is it com.netgear? But anyhow, it said, error, blah, blah, blah. It said contact Apple support. So I contacted Apple support, and I'm telling them what it says on my screen, and the guy goes, oh yeah, no, we don't take care of that. I go, it says to contact Apple support. Oh yeah, no, but we don't take care of that. Yeah, we don't do that. You know, so But see, this is the type of customer service and the quality of work that we have in the companies. Um, so it's like, if the quality of work, and this is like the type of service that we're getting, if I were to give up my light, you know, I'd be jumping on a sinking ship. That's it. I'd be jumping on a sinking ship, and I would just go down with everybody. That's what I would do. So why would I do that? I would never do that, you know? So, I mean, that's suicide. But the people that are just, boosted on egos, their egos are just, oh, yeah, everybody loves me. But they don't see that the ship is sinking. They don't see that, the intelligence level, just all went down. Nobody sees it, you know. I see it. I see it very, very clearly. Um, I'm able to see like a lot of stuff, but that's because, I keep myself open because I don't lie, you know. I don't lie. I don't lie to people, and I don't expect people to lie to me, but a lot of people lie to me, but now I know how to, read, people's energy like really well, but that's basically in a nutshell the way that Earth has, come. It's came into that reality of all the higher ups. They don't see this, and but it's it's the ego. Um, and yeah, going through an ego death, I've had to go through a lot of shit. It's not easy. I mean, they put me through the shit. They intentionally, purposely put me through this. Okay, so if I slap it back at them, because it's the truth, you know, it's going to help them in the long run, to wake up, to start, like using their mind a bit, but if they're trying to oppress a lot of people that, are all liars, I mean, a liar's always just going to lie. The only way a liar is going to heal himself is if he starts telling the truth, so, but a lot of people, they just want to lie, and that's their life, and they got to suffer their own consequences, for all that. I'm not going to do it. I'm not nobody's scapegoat. I hold myself accountable for the stuff that I do, and that is how it is for for everybody that did shit to people. The one thing that I don't mess with is the spiritual realm. I respect the spiritual realm, and if people don't know about that, they you shouldn't mess with spirits that you know nothing about, um, because everything it happens in the spirit before it manifests in the natural world, in the material world, so and I have a lot of respect for the spiritual realm, and that it goes for the dark too, because all these things that they put me through, I had to figure things out. I had to sit in the dark, um, the void, be in tears and just like, why does this always happen to me? What is it? It wasn't happening to other people, but it always happened to me. And, in the void is where I started like learning things. I started learning how to turn my power into pain, or how to turn my pain into power, into a music, have an outlet. I have this tape recorder. Um, Started working on music like in 2003, 2004. Um, I don't know if you guys remember, but around that time, 2002 to 2003 or 2004, it seems like music just kind of stopped. Not stopped, but it just kind of just changed a bit. I used to listen to K Rock all the time, and all of a sudden it was just like repeating the same music, and it's like Nirvana. like forever, but no new music was coming out. It's just like music just stopped. It became like classic rock. It's like, what the hell happened? I mean, they used to have like bands coming out all the time, but now I think, well, shit, these guys have been fucking, doing this shit to me my whole life, stealing my destiny and my blessings and this and that, because like, nothing ever came to me. I'd be doing my shadow work and doing all this stuff and, you know, being on top of my karma. Um, but it would never, come to me. I would never get my blessings or anything like that. Um, but I didn't know about all this other shit or stuff. Um, so then I thought, well, music, and I know it. Well, a lot of people know that Hollywood, you gotta do shit, um, to get into that industry and stuff like that. But I would never do that. I just, and I'm not saying, people make their own decisions and stuff like that. I would advise against that. But knowing that a lot of people aren't happy, um, they feel, well, it's because part of them is missing, and I think it's because like some of them, yeah, they have maybe created the music. Others, they're giving lyrics or something like that to to sing, so but if they're not putting in the work, and then and then seeing the final product, that's the creating that, so if they weren't part of the whole thing, then they're going to have something missing. So if they're over there just performing, there's that missing element, and nothing will ever fill that, because you got to reclaim that part of you. You got to reclaim that. No, like, you know, I don't, just get that, because you fracture yourself, and you need to claim that for yourself so you become, whole, and that's part of, the human, experience. To rebuild your soul and ascend up. But if you're not putting in the work, you're gonna feel that there's something missing, and that's the way that I see it, and I do feel that's why a lot of people feel they don't feel fulfilled. I think a lot of them they feel more used, and so they got that hierarchy up there too. You got to pay your dues. I don't know. It's just kind of like, I think Lady Gaga. She was talking about like it's just like a slave, thing. We're just in the morning, the radio show, and then you got to do this, concert here at this mall, and then do another radio show, and this and that, and the book signing, and then another radio show, and then concert at night, and so it's like they're just working her, and she's like, no, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I signed up for. Um, but that's what they do. So it kind of was like, what they had in their mind, it didn't turn out like that. But one thing that she had said, she was in a video with the Dalai Lama, but she said that about evil, it's very real. It exists, and it consumes. It doesn't matter if you're red or blue, black or white. It doesn't matter. It just consumes, and which is, that's you know, that I do understand, and I do feel that, that's well, it comes to the parasitic, the demons, but a lot of people don't really understand how it really is. Um, and everybody around the world has it, because it's passed through kissing, um, because what it is, and okay, so raccoons, so ra, coon, right? Coon black, right? So the third eye is right here, okay? So raccoons going in the sewers and stuff, they get worms and stuff. So they get hookworms in the eyes. So the hookworm, this is what they do because they multiply, and they show you the hookworms, and the hookworms, the first OG hookworm is Jabba the Hutt, and Empire Strikes Back. They got really fat, so Jabba the Hutt, or Oot, Oot. Look up Oot. Just drop the H. H is a, you know, like you're hallucinating, or Houdini. It's a kind of trick. So you drop the H sometimes. You know, so H L, hell, right? So H, Evan, heaven. So even, L, one, even, two, even. White and dark come together, yin and yang. Now you're whole. That's that's how that kind of works out. But going back to the worms, so Men in Black, they have the worms, and they're lazy. They fuck shit up, smoke cigarettes, skinny little lanky dudes. That's what they do. Hey, Jay. They're funny, but they show you in the movies that's the truth. That's where they're at. So what the worms do is, so they go in the eyes, and they go up to here, okay? And that's the third eye, okay? So a worm will go like this, okay? And it comes out like this, and it'll go and connects to the ear. The other one will go down here and go around the eye this way, and then go up like this, and it'll go up. And does that on this side too, and up, okay? And then down. And then from here, it goes down that way. So basically right there, if you look, you got one, two, and then, so there's the star. So the demons, they're worms, the hookworms, okay? And they have this little thread, um, and the thread is, because they say that there's an umbilical cord, invisible. So if you think about the cells, if you split a cell in half, you could put one on the other side of the world and do something here, the other one will feel it. So it's kind of like that. So through kissing, or drinking out of somebody's cup or something like that, what happens is, well, now if you trauma bond, the person, well, now you could siphon their energetic force, in that way, because so the worm goes in the other person, and then it has its own little family in there and does the same thing. Oh, and the other thing is that like the worm will kind of like hang out here, but if you get angry, then it'll just shoot up like that, and then like the eyes just kind of squint, and it'll turn black. So that's how people's eyes turn black. So they tap into the to the mind, and those are the different emotional centers that they tap into, that they'll overcome in somebody's mind. So whenever you give up a part of yourself, the worms are controlling. They're controlling you. And they give the illusion, because is a demon going to be like, oh yeah, like I'm a slimy worm dude, just worms hooked together, or I'm the vision. They give you a vision, of what the demon, what people say they look like, but the parasitic worm, that's what it is. that's what they do, and they tap into your third eye, so that's why they could see shit. The hive mind, antennas, so um, that's how they can communicate. That's how they can jump into other people's bodies, because it's that hive mind system. But it's like, you want worms in your body, or just you work on fucking getting them out. um, so the trauma bond, that's shadow work. Um, I never had any help. I had to do it on my own. But uh, part of what I'll help people with is that. I was trying to make this kind of short, because I don't know how, if it's even going to come out or anything like that. But and it's pretty interesting, on how people perceive the demons, but it's actually these worms, and nobody really knows that. um, I don't think anybody really knows that, but that's how it works. So is it you thinking, or is it the worm that's thinking? So my guess is, yeah, it's the worm. you know like, do you want the worm to think for you, or you want to think for yourself? Because the worm, they don't care. They're gonna eat you. Because they're gonna. That's the what Lady Gaga was talking about. It doesn't care. It just wants to. It'll consume. It's like a locust, and it'll just wants to devour everything. So, the other thing is that when you do shadow work, they say ascension is very snotty, and that's why, because you're you know when you raise your vibration, by or overcoming that emotional trigger, the thing that gets you angry, when you get mad, you get upset, thing that pisses you off. I used to get hangry a long time ago, and I would throw a tantrum because I was hungry and I didn't get my food on time. It was cold, or it was wrong. My order didn't come out right. So I had a tantrum, but I didn't know I was doing that, because I didn't really look at myself. But when I did, I read something, or I seen a video, and the guy said that pretty much, I couldn't, I couldn't, I couldn't hold my hunger or something like that, and the hunger pains just annoyed me, so I would throw a tantrum. And I'm like, fucking A, he's right. It's like, I'm over here, and I'm over, like, throwing myself on the ground, like, I don't want to eat. But I was hungry. I was just upset, taking it out on other people. But that's what I did, So I don't have a problem telling people that. I don't care who the fuck you are. If that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. And if you don't want to be seen like that, then don't do it. You know. So, because I'm the one that's going to tell you. I have no reason to lie to you. So I'm not gonna, bow down. I'm not gonna do any of that shit. If I lose myself. See, the thing is that God created me for me to be me, and the reason why, like, I have so much faith in the Most High God, and is because He is the only one that He never tried to change me. He didn't try to control me. He didn't say I had to do this or that. He accepted me the way that I was. And, and in 2010 was my really big awakening, because, my divorce, and, I had my kids every other weekend. I got bad advice from a friend, and, I was drinking a lot now, and then smoking cigarettes, and I was doing all this crap. And I wasn't happy, and just like, I was always tired. I was tired ever since I was a child, but it's like everything I did, it just turned to shit. So when I cried out to God, and I asked him, just, are you real or not? Because I don't know. Please tell me, I don't know. I want to believe, but it's like nothing happens. Please tell me. I got my answer, 3 days later. Um, I was completely sober. I had no alcohol. I had, nothing. I hydrated was in the hospital at the time, for a few days. And, but, on the third day when I went to sleep, I mean, I just got attacked and attacked and attacked and attacked, like so much, those are, demonic attacks. They're siphoning my energy, my vital energy. And then, I would always like fight to stay awake, but I'd be like drugged. I'd be so tired, like exhausted. So the last time I fell asleep, then a little teddy bear, who wasn't little, but teddy bear popped up. He had a red leather jacket and a red leather hat. And he looked at me, and I was laying on my side on the bed. And he goes like this, and he goes like that. And he goes, you're not going to get away from me that easily. And he stuck me, and I felt it. It was like, oh shit. So I jumped up out of bed, and I was like, fuck. It's like, that was the devil. And I knew that everything that I was taught in church, when I was younger, and all these other things that other people were talking about, nobody talks about the shit that I went through. And I knew it was fucking real because I had that shit happen all the time. So then I started thinking, well, nobody else talks about that. And it's like, if you're going to have if you're going to have, any team, you're going to want to pick the best players. So I started thinking like, shit, it must be something. I must be a high ranking or powerful something, because other people, like, nothing happens to them and they keep on like coming after me. And so, the ones that go to church, read the Bible, like, nothing happens, but me, it's like I got the shit happening all the time. The ones that go to church and read the Bible, a lot of them, I don't go to church and read the Bible. I see that a lot of them are hypocrites. They don't see their shadow self. They don't see it. The enablers, they don't say nothing. So that's what I, grew up seeing. So I went my own ways. Organic is the road that I took. And that's how I developed my relationship with the Most High. Because, after I had that experience in 2010, fuck, man, I was just like, seek and I shall find. And like, I learned how to communicate, through, nature and through animals. And, that's, that's what I got into. I went off grid. And, I didn't do the 9 to 5. All the jobs, they just worked me to death. They at Albertsons when I worked there. Once I got on night crew, it's like I was good. I was the lead. I was managing at night. But some guy said, yeah, once they find somebody really good at night, they're not gonna let them go. It's like, fuck, I don't want to work nights forever. And I come to the point, in my life, it's like, is this what I want to do? Do I want to like work nights forever? No, that's not happy. Like, I didn't dream of doing this as a kid, as a child. I don't say kid. Kid's a donkey, so that's what a kid is. So let's say child. So, so yeah, I booked it. I had already asked like a lot of times, if I could get promoted to the day. They never did. I always get overlooked. So then Albertsons, not Albertsons, but then I got a job with Verizon. Cool, making good money. And see, this is how this is how I knew that there's other forces that behind me. Because as soon as I got a job, as soon as I got into Verizon, see, I got my truck. So I got a a Ford F-250, and it was diesel. And diesel was the cheapest that gas had ever been. It was, the cheapest gas was diesel. And so the truck that I got was red. Out of all the ones, the only one that they had was red. So that's what my buddy got me, and it was diesel. So 1 week later, diesel went up, and it never went down again. So what are the odds in that, right? But this is what would happen to me. Got a good job, cool. I could buy a house. I'm gonna save up money so I don't have to pay no $4,000 mortgage. Want to pay. I heard a long time ago. With one check, you should be able to pay your mortgage and other stuff. But you don't want to be paying well, you shouldn't have like 4 families, living in one house, especially if it's a single family unit. But these people that sell houses, they got big egos. They got to share their awards and shit like that. They just made a $30,000 commission. You got to, I don't know, the ego. See, egos just, that's where they get people on egos. But anyhow, so you got a single family, unit. So that means that one family should live there. But in order to up the price, well, they start throwing multiple families, because multiple families, they could charge more for the house, So this is where, one little lie, they start, doing these other loans and stuff like that, So then, so they start pushing them, and later on, well, everybody's doing it. So now everybody's doing it. That's just how it is, So everybody's selling a single family unit, and these people don't even realize that they're inflating the dollar, which is actually devaluing the dollar. Them making, so a $200,000 house is not 200,000. I mean, a $40,000 house, is not $850,000 now. It's that 100 pennies for the dollar. It's actually like only worth 2 cents. So that paper is only worth 2 cents, but it still looks like $1. But see, they don't teach anybody that. They know, the people, in the banking system and the high ups, they know. They do it all the time. But they don't tell anybody. You go through your educational system, you're getting your degrees, you're a bachelor, you're I'm a doctor, but they don't tell people shit like this. Okay, but it's important because that's how they devalue the dollar. People are like, oh yeah, I just sold this house. Yeah, now you got to pay this much more money on taxes. That much more money on taxes. That's what you did. You devalued the dollar, and now everybody got to pay more taxes. Yeah, and where does that go? It goes to the people that govern your mental faculties, government. That's where it goes. It goes to the government. And where does that go? It goes to overseas shit, and it goes to all this other crap that has nothing to do for the people that live here. So it's kind of like the ego is just destroyed like so much because everybody's just, oh yeah, they're about money so much that they don't care about people, and that's very sad. It goes back to that black woman that they're allowing to be raped, and police officers go pick her up and take her to the same facility every week. That's what it leads to. That's where we're at. It's like right here, I'm in the middle of Gangstock Central. It's like, where am I supposed to go? I haven't really felt a pull to go anywhere. I love my dogs. They taught me stuff. It's like if the world just could see that the quality in the value is always in yourself. You have to be willing to look at yourself and do some work, like to get to know yourself. The way that I kind of do it is just kind of like, you're center, and I start going too far this way. Like, yeah, no, no, because now I'm getting too far away from myself this way or that way. So I stay in the middle and like a little bit, to the right, which is like, choose the right. So that's how I do it, and I don't look at stuff like a teeter totter, black, white, black, white. To me, it's like a platter, you know. So you got to learn how to balance the opposite side of all the different emotions, you know. So you got a little wobble, but you want to be around there. But when you're doing that, that's duality. Duality is a teeter totter, because there's a lot of angels on the white side, but they don't see their dark side, and they don't see the narcissistic side in them. Because there's a lot of people that they just toss their dark side. Okay, yeah, no, and they run over here, but it's like that's your other half over there. Like you left half of yourself over there. Because you got your dark spirit and you got your light spirit. But when your two spirits come together and align, well then your dark spirit is gonna fucking fight for you, and that's how it should be. It's gonna take care of you, and that's how it should be. And that's what I have, So, but I don't, I still, I believe I believe in somebody above, me. I don't think, because there's people here. That's what they believe. They're God, and they've been managing everything, and they're here on Earth. And see, I respect, and I like, to me, it's an honor to do something for somebody, and if they feel I can do it, and I feel that there's an honor in that. It's a responsibility, you know. I don't take those things lightly, um, because it's a position that it requires focus and attention, and I want to do the best that I can, like in anything, so that I do. Um, I'm not the type of person that likes to micromanage, but I'm also not the type of person that won't jump in and help. I've worked with a lot of people that are just brown nosers, and that that's all their friends. It's just like, but they don't really know a lot of stuff. Like me, like I know how to do like all kinds of things. At Albertsons, I used to order the whole store, and just go in there and just like, just order everything, for the holidays, this and that. Like, so the GM, I would just he would order some stuff that he needed, but you know I would do the whole thing. So I was like responsible for that, and I was only like 20 when I was doing that. And Verizon, I would teach people, training and this and that, and so I know telecommunications. Telecommunications is it's very important. Um, it's how we convey messages to each other, um, and that's why like the internet or phone systems. You just got to think about it. You got to think about it like this. Well, a narcissist, they don't have boundaries. Okay, they will cross your boundaries. They feel that you are an extension of themselves. So if you think about it like that, well, now you know how secure everybody's network is. That's not very secure at all. At all. I mean, it's wide open. They give you the illusion that it's safe, but I know that it's not. And I think people should have a lot better protection and better safety, mechanisms, especially when it comes to, their banking and, um, people need to have a form of privacy. People need to know where their parent ends and where they begin. A lot of people they really don't know that. They don't have that separation. Um, but having your own private space, that's healthy. That could be your sacred space. Where you have your own space to yourself, and everybody should be able to have that. So, um, but going back to to the Most High, God is the only one that it didn't matter what I did, what my problem was, this and that. My vices, like it's okay. And I learned how to talk to people in that way, because a lot of people turn people away, and because right away you got to change. Oh, you want God in your life, you got to stop doing this. You can't do this. Like right away they're already like, no, you can't. Blah blah blah. Like they're just, they're just changing you already. It's like, okay, so for me to go, to church and this and that, that means that, so like I can't listen to this music. I got to listen to your guys' music, but I don't like that shit. I don't like church music. Other people do. I don't. You know, when the devil was here at my house, because I had a conversation with, well, a few different conversations with Lucifer, but I told Lucifer that, you're the angel of music. I go, your fucking music helped me. It helped me during these dark times. Your music helped me, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't, But no, I can't go to church and fucking say like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna listen to this. No, fucking this shit helped me, So I don't go to church. And my church is this. I'm talking to you guys, and this is church to me, and that's what I've always done. And whenever I have an opportunity, just wherever I'm at, I take care of dogs, cats. I did that for a while. I was going to start a business with that, but all of a sudden it started, the shutdown. 2020. I see things from a higher perspective. That's Eagle. My last name. I didn't know at the time that's what it was. I see things from a higher perspective, and the one that the one that told me that, well, he didn't tell me that directly, but I keyed in on it. Is well, Paul. He said my last name, and then he said, oh, so you seem to see things from a higher perspective. And then I'm like, motherfucker, that's who you are. All the narcissistic signs, like he had every single one of them, every one of them. It's like, damn, And then I have, my the Jezebel. So I got two of them. Shit, in the neighborhood, like fucking everybody's like, fucking, hey, I'm surrounded. Like, this is hell. I woke up in hell, you know. So that my second ego death, which is like a fucking big one, was like, this is hell with people. And they're over here they're gonna do a humiliation ritual on me. And I just seen the signs, but I told him, I know what you're doing. Like, I already know what you're gonna do. That's what you guys are doing. And he's like, what are you talking about? So like I got ahead of him, but because I could see the patterns. I already knew what how they're just setting it all up. Trying to paint me like, I'm paranoid. I'm crazy and this and that. So that now I know why my mom did that a long time ago, when I was a child. She started, oh yeah, mental illness runs in the family. Not with me, it doesn't. It never will. Oh, she would say Mexican people are always poor. I'm not. I've always felt that I can make a lot of money. And that's the thing. When all these different, people in places, have the, let's raise gas prices so this guy doesn't get, he's got to pay more for diesel. It's like, what the hell? But that's what they're doing, because it's not just my luck, to have all this shit, happen, have all these companies, be put on me, Netgear, um, who else? Oh, VHC, VCA, Mars Incorporated, the candy bars. Yeah. The television, Judge Judy. She has a show called The Hot Bench. And, put it to you this way. Animal control in the city that I live in, the first incident that I had, that was with them. And animal control, they completely lied. I mean, they lied. What what Helen and I said, they totally changed it. And then the Rodriguez, she wouldn't change it. It's like, that's not what we wrote. And she said, yeah, that's what you wrote. No, it's not. You know, she said, well, you could try to get the cam, right, body cam. And so, oh, we could try. That means they already had it planned. See, these people, they put their foot in their mouth. Okay, so then anyhow, then they already knew that it was planned, and I already knew about the police chief over here because I have a client, and her name's Kathy, and she was a retired sheriff, right? She had passed in 2022, but I heard her. She would always call the police chief because, her her gun was taken, and he would never call back and this and that. So I already knew that he wasn't going to call back over here. It's like, that's what they do. So I already knew how he was because of her. So with animal control. So Rodriguez came, and then the senior officer, Helen, has known him for years, and so he said that he didn't take the report because he didn't want to be biased, because the girl Natasha, he's actually known her for 23 years, like family friend. It's like a daughter to her. And he's also known Helen for 23 years, a long time, right? So he didn't take the report in order to not be biased. Okay? And then he started leaning, yeah, we should just pay. But I already knew that my dog was innocent. So then he was biased. But then he's the senior officer. So he's going to sign off on the report that she wrote. But I already know the arrogance. I already see him. Let me take care of this. And he's all talking to me with his feet up here. But see, I don't pay crooks. I don't. When they're trying to take advantage of me like that, no. And I pushed. So then after that, he had to redo everything, and he falsified the report, and he already knows the police chief, do whatever, they don't care. So, then after that, then they send it to Pasadena. Well, we have a client. She's actually, she's a child, a lawyer for the, a children's lawyer. And she works out of Pasadena. And she said, yeah, they always go with, they would side with her. They don't even look, and I already know that from LA, from Los Angeles court, through my divorce, that they don't care. Okay, so like, screw that. Like, we go there for sure, it's a loss, but then we got the call for the show, and the production company, she lied. Oh yeah, it's gonna be fair, this and that bullshit. They're fucking liars, but anyhow, then we go on the show. It was on 9/11 2024. Okay, so Judge Judy, if you watch that show, that episode, you're gonna see, that because we didn't cash that check, because they lied, and he didn't. None of those judges did anything honest at all. Okay, because if you would have looked at if they would have looked at the paperwork, you know, I have everything documented, and it shows, how, time stamped, and it's all according to, like, because I sent a text on that night. It was like a 10:22, and all the charges, like the what is it? Not Novocaine, but anesthesia and all this other stuff. They started putting that in like after 10:22. But see, she checked in the dog like at 4:30, for like 4:50, and there was a 5 hour, gap, just taking vital signs, and it said pain zero, zero pain. You know, everything was normal. Everything. There's no rush. So that explains the 5 hour chilling, right? And nothing happened until I text. I texted and boom, they just slammed everything, you know? And so I already knew that they were lying. But then the doctor over here, was it veterinary, VHC, the doctor, Odama, he he gave us the reason to, what is it, the reason to not agree. No, not that, but it's not really coming to me right now. But it's a really common thing. But basically, when a tooth on the inside of a dog's mouth, it gets infected when they're chewing on a ball or rock or whatever. It kind of chips the enamel, so then it becomes rotten, and then people don't notice, and they hide pain really well. And this makes a lot of sense with with her dog, because it was always like it would hang out inside our house. Um, but what happens? It gets swollen and then it bursts. Okay, when it burst, um, it looks like it was a puncture from the outside, and it doesn't really bleed a lot because it was already infected. You know, so that's what happened. There wasn't no blood anywhere. The dogs weren't latched out, onto each other. There was just that hole. There was no underneath puncture wounds, and they didn't treat anything. They didn't do anything. What they put is like as soon as we went in there, or as soon as she went in there, that they did emergency surgery right away. But then they did all the stuff at 10:50, or after 10:22. You know, so without anesthesia, they did this emergency, procedure, and but then the doctor over here, and this is where Mars Incorporated, you know, um, they have a lot to do with this, because we'll say Odama, he as soon as he knew who it was, then he changed his mind. He backed up the doctor. He backed up the lies and this and that, everything. He even got mad at me. I said, but look at the timestamps. Look at when they put this here. Because I don't care about timestamps. You know, it's like, how are you not going to care about timestamps? I mean, like, people can die if you do anesthesia and you do anesthesia again. It's like it has to be documented if you double dose something and they overdose. It's like ridiculous. And, so like all that stuff, went to the show. And then, the black lady, like, yeah, she's just, yeah, she's just a mean person. She thinks I don't love my dog. Yeah. I'm not going to go ahead and say, oh, yeah, we're guilty. No, because I know my dog didn't do it. Okay. I love my dog. And he's not going to be blamed for stuff that it was already there. His eyes, like, We have a picture from January 2024. This is, 6 months before the incident. And in January, and I have the pictures, and Helen won't, she wouldn't show Odama, but both of the eyes, they're puffy, okay? And the picture that they show, it only shows one side, but it's strained, okay? And it has wrinkles, meaning that it was already like, inflated the skin. And then it, like a balloon, leaves it wrinkly. So that right there tells me the doctor completely lied. Odama backed up that lie. And then Mars Incorporated, they own all these, animal clinics. And here's the thing, is that when I worked at Albertsons, okay, I had to join the union. This is when I was 16 years old. I had to call Mars. I had to call Mars. That's what they said. You got to call Mars to join the union, okay? So and then you got, the cosmic worm, okay, that's in everybody's eyes. It's called the cosmic worm, okay? I'm betting it's probably from Mars. And then you got, the someone that built spaceships to Mars, you know. I mean, so you see all these, different patterns. And then they come after, it's like he's been after me, and I didn't do anything. I'm over here just trying to live, trying to, get a house, and it's all I try to do, and then all of a sudden I'm just in this, situation where it's just like, all these people are just like, watching me and monitoring me and this and that. And, but I pay attention. I see things, and I'm not going to give up my light. I'm not going to be no sacrifice for anybody. It's like, this is the season where people be accountable for the stuff that they do. Nobody's going to grow up. If you let a child do something, okay, that's wrong, and you allow him to do it, well, he's going to think it's okay. He's going to feel he's entitled, because nobody ever tells him fucking anything, right? So, but if he's accountable, no, that's not what you do, and you correct that, okay? So then he learns, well, after that, he's not going to do, he won't do it no more, okay? So that's how they grow up. That's how children grow up, is through these processes. They have to be held accountable, okay? And, a lot of people, that are in high places, like these judges, on the hot bench, they're they're judges or just, actors, but they're taking money from people, they're backing up, yeah, they're backing up criminals. Um, it's like you have a girl that lies. She already knows that something's wrong with her dog's mouth. She already knew it. She's waiting for the opportunity. Oh, and there's the other thing. We have papers, for them to sign, because, dogs get in scuffles. And that's what Rodriguez said. It happens, dogs get in scuffles. Dogs are dogs, right? Right? So, but out of all of the clients, okay, Helen didn't get her to sign it, right? She didn't get her to sign it. And she also babied her a lot. I told her, don't baby her. Why are you babying her? So, but then all this other shit happens. And then lo and behold, goes all the way up to the television, the television show. And the last words that I had was with the male, right? The male judge. And I said, animal control. I go, they lied on the on the report. They falsified it. They lied on it. And he said, what does that matter anyways? He yelled it at me. So, Judge Judy, look at that. It's like, and I would I'd love when I would see Judge Judy, because she would just, lay into people that are taking advantage of other people, and that's all justice should be. That's all law should be. That's how judges should be. They should be, going after the facts, and measuring that, and not who they like. It's like nowadays everything's just a show. You got the lawyers and you got the judges or the commissioners, and they all know each other because they see each other all the time, right? Okay, well, you go this, and it's all just a show. They ain't doing shit. You just pretend, because talking about the other stuff that has nothing to do with actually people's cases. You know, the way that the court system has been for a long time. You know, I'm pretty positive that's what they do, but it's just take people's money. I'm over here solving my own case, and this and that, because I pay attention, and I want things to go right, because it should, and people who go to the vet, they should get the service, for their pet, and not get overcharged or or raped or get charged for something that they didn't even need. $1,800, $4,000, $4,500. That's what these people do. Okay. So, so that's the situation that I've been in. So I got I got this phone right here. That's AT&T. I got another phone over here. This is my Spectrum one, right? And this one, so you got I call them red. There was a red coven of 66, or coven. The coven of red 66. So they like to use red for the root chakra. Okay, they bind you in that. So the Mormon Church, right? See, when I was a child, I could never cross my legs. That like all the other children, like my knees would be up higher. They wouldn't lay flat like everybody else, and I didn't know why, but I was always more stiff. Even in high school, when I played football, I couldn't I couldn't do that. See, the thing is that this is where God, He puts me in places, where I see things that other people normally don't, But I was going to the chiropractor, and this was in 2022, and she did an X-ray, and she said, that the bottom three vertebrae on my tailbone or the bottom of my spine, she said that they were fused together, and she said it was probably a birth defect. But now in light of all this other stuff, the Mormon Church, is it Joseph Smith? He's a 33-degree Mason. My brother, he was married to Tracy, and Tracy's dad, I think he lives in Arkansas, but they're Masons, and she was a rainbow, the Masonic temple. So you got Masons right there from from my brother's wife's side. So there's Masons right there. Yeah, in the Mormon Church, satanic, occult. What do they do? Secret societies, and was it John F. Kennedy? What's done in secret, he got assassinated after that. Because he was telling people, things shouldn't be done in secret. Yeah, because they're ripping people off. They're doing fucking shady shit, and they're over here acting like they're doing stuff for the country that's right. So what the hell is that? Come on, It's like, be a man and be a man, just be honest. That's it. You shouldn't have to say anything, because the truth is the truth. I'm not going to tell you twice. That's what the truth is. But you're going to lie? What the hell is that? That's childish. Children do that. It's another thing that, took me a long time, talking to God is like, it's like the whole world seems like it's been like this. It's like, yeah, I have the whole, city that's on me. And all because I'm trying to live, you know, trying to save up and buy a house, try to have my own, business. Um, just trying to do something, working, 9 to 5, like they just, they just work me to death and give me the worst jobs. Everybody would say that I had the worst luck. I would get the worst jobs all the time. That's how it's always been. Yeah, got a lot more, things. It was, see, I don't have a middle name, but they gave me a middle name or a middle initial over there at Verizon, and that was an X, right? So X. X is the 24th letter in the alphabet. Two and four is 2 plus 4 is 6, right? So I'm Richard Six, right? So six, it's also my sixth sense, my intuition, how I could see things, right? Six has always been my favorite number for a long time. So if you go six, so you got S is so Q R S. So R is 9. So S is because 18, so it's 19. So it's 1. So S is 1. Um, I is 9. So 1 9. Okay. Then you got X is 6 and X is 6, right? So 1966. So you got Paul, his birthday, 1966. Helen, 1966. Then you got Musk bought Twitter in 2022, and he changed the name in 2023. Okay. He changed it to X. And that's when Paul came, right? To do the destiny swap, the humiliation ritual. Okay. That's what he did. And that's what they sent him here for that. You know. And then it's like just kind of sad, that we have people in high positions, and you know I would say disappointing, because I did support Trump for a while, but once I started putting all these things together, I was just like, you know it's like you're fighting lies while you're lying. It's like why? Like what does it do? You know. I mean, I've never had a leader in my whole life. I never had like a father figure to look up to. As far as like my parents. You know, my entire life has always been like that, and but I didn't realize that it's like everything was that, and but there's somebody that I do relate to a lot is Jordan Peterson. You know, he's and I don't really see eye to eye with a lot of like doctors and psychologists and stuff like that. But Jordan Peterson, he says some things that the beginning of his career, he's still figuring things out, but later on, he started changing like how he's seeing things and stuff, but he said a really key thing. He said he used to lie about different stuff until one day he realized that that his lies are kind of getting a little out of hand or whatever. So he stopped, worked on he stopped lying to himself and lying in general. And he also says about wrestling, wrestling with God. Um, That's when you really know the truth. Is, you know, when you question that, and you're just not existing in a body, but not being conscious. You know, like me, I exist in a body, and I'm conscious. I'm aware. You know, I pay attention. I see. You know, they say so evil. So evil backwards is live. So you don't know evil unless you live. So if you live and you're living on purpose, you know, trying to, you know, and making a difference in somebody's life, or just, you know, help because you mean it, you know. Well, when you live, that's when the evil, you know, it presents itself. It's right there, and and the evil is also, was it the E and the Phi? If you just flip them over, then that's the veil, you know. So it's all right in front of our faces. Can't see it, but flip those letters around, and after that, it's like what's always there. It's the evil. And, you know, the veil is very thin, and they hide the secrets right in front of your face. You know, but you know the shit that I've been through. It's like it's way bigger than that. And, you know, it's something that, I mean, I wasn't uh, aware of. Like I didn't. There's nothing I dreamed about. That's for sure. And I'll tell you this, like, you know, I would never. I want to be like, yeah, I want to do that again. You know, yeah, like it's not easy. You know, I wouldn't want any of my, you know, like anybody that had done this to me, I wouldn't want them to have to go through this. You know, it's not a it's not a simple thing to live through. Um, you know, it's you know, it hurts on a lot of different, you know, levels, and then, you know, yeah, I'm able to have a relationship, you know, with God and everything like that, but, you know, it's like, you know, this was intentional, and you know, there wasn't like a happy ending, you know, for me. That's, you know, that's what it comes down to, which is, you know, that's, you know, very sad, you know, um, but yeah, you know, I wouldn't want to. So yeah, you know, I wouldn't, you know, don't go down to, especially, you know, the way that it had been. You know, don't do that. You know, because it's not easy. I don't know how many. Well, they said I'm, you know, the only one that's been able to do that, but you know, I care. You know, there's a lot of good people, and you know what I did. You know, so I heard a long time ago that, um, you know, angels and you know, when we come from the higher realms, we're used to higher vibrations and stuff like that. And so a lot of the drugs, you know, they have a similar feeling from the higher realms. So a lot of the angelic and light beings, they're, you know, they're drawn to these different drugs and substances. So, you know, after Paul left, and I was getting attacked and attacked and attacked, like hard with these, you know, like these twisting, like electrical things that are just hitting my head, and you know, I mean, it was just like so much, and like I just cried out to God, and I said, "Please help me!" Like, and he, you know, he answered me, and he said, you know, he was wondering when I was going to ask for help, because he was gonna intervene, he was gonna stop, you know, and you know, but I told him what my had wanted, as far as you know, what I had prayed for, and um, but I asked him if I could alchemize, you know, save everybody that was trapped, you know, and save everybody, because it wasn't. I just thought of everybody, and like how hard it was, to go through shit or stuff like that. It's not easy, and I just thought of everybody, like, it's like they didn't get to be able to fulfill their destiny and their dreams and stuff like that, So, it's I've been working on that, to because I thought everybody should have a chance, because everybody deserves it, and and I just always imagine a world, being a better place, and that time is now, and I know what's mine, it's mine. Um, I'm not gonna let anybody take me away from that, sway me from that, you know. Um, I have full faith, and I think it's time for for the people that have sacrificed so much. Even like the spirits like in the dark, and the dark spirits, even ancestors from you know the Dark's family and stuff like that. They've been with me, protecting me from like since June, or since July of 2024. And it was that Soul Family Oracle, like she's the one, because of all my YouTube feed just changed to tarot readings and intuitives, and she's one of the first channels that I came across. But she said that I had high powered angels of both light and dark that were protecting me. And how like I felt like just like, wow, you know and I just thought that these people, like they were enslaved, to these other gods, acting like gods or whatever, but they were enslaved to them for thousands of years, you know and they didn't even know that, because I left the pathway for them, because that's what I asked, to fix the pathway so they can ascend, and they said they never knew that. They never knew that they would be able to have a path. So, and so that's why this was very important to me. It wasn't like a light thing, I didn't do this like jokingly. I took it very serious, and I had to try to figure out, since my they hacked my phones and still hacked, and I just had to figure out how I could be, to fulfill my mission for the Most High, and I chose to do it in the way that I have been able to do it. But this was important, for me, because it means a lot, and I learned a lot from the spiritual realm. It's like they're my guides. They help me, they protect me, and they protect me. I respect them. That's why respect. It's a very important. Because it's reciprocated on all dimensions. And you do a lot more when people respect each other, and you can build things, better, quicker, high quality. There's so much more that you could do if you do it like that. So it's a new world, and I'm the commander, Commander 6. This was a lot longer than I expected it to be. I'll go ahead and try to load it. Hopefully it'll work. But here's my recorder, but I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can play this a bit. So this guy Felix, he was awesome. You know, he played guitar. So when I would come home from work, you know, Verizon, and before that was Telscape, you know, he would come up with different music, you know, and then me and him, you know, we'd drink beers and then work on music. So, you know, this one's called Silence of the Abyss, you know, so I don't know how good you could hear it, but. Whirlwind made a fire, well it burned, we don't know. Habitats. Okay, so you probably can't understand the lyrics, so I'll sing on top of it. But whirlwind made a fire, will it burn? We don't know. Have a taste, fried the steak, glass and lights through windows. Computer overdrive is always flowing through you, looking over castles, and I still don't know. Do you know me? Silence of the abyss. See me? Stuck in a commotion, separated from reality. Triggers futile fusion, takes you back to your insanity. Puzzle with the picture of the water and anatomy. Puzzles are in pieces, figure out just what you've done to me. Hey, baby. Finger paint a mountain, suffocate the shame. Born in resignation, dressed without a name. Computer overdrive is always flowing through you, looking over castles, and I still don't know. Do you know me? Silence of the abyss. See me? Stuck in a commotion, still get from reality. Triggers futile fusion, takes you back to your insanity. Puzzles off the pressure of the water and anatomy. Puzzles are in pieces, figure out just what you've done to me. Lying in a bed of wonder. Lying in a bed of wonder. Stealing the sun. Lying in a bed of wonder. Stealing the sun. Computer, lying in a bed of wonder. Stealing the sun. Lying in a bed of wonder. Still in the sun. Stuck in the drivers only going through you. And I still don't know if you know me. Silence of the abyss. See me? Stuck in a commotion, separated from reality. Triggers futile fusion, takes you back to your insanity. Puzzles are the picture of the water and anatomy. Puzzles are in pieces, figure out just what you've done to me. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time. Seeing the sun, lying in a bed of wonder, still in the sun. Kind of fitting, don't you think? Yeah, so it's what I got out of the void. I just I learned how to put it into music, and I got a lot of music that I need to put music to it. So that's it's gonna be coming. And was it Mobile Mystic 888? Like call for help. Like shit, I've been trying to get out of this. This web that they put me in. Hold on, my dogs. Just trying to get untangled from this. Um, but just it just shows you how much you know how much they just try to stop me, and I just like I said, I was just trying to live. You know, so it's kind of like when I cried out, to God, I just like, I didn't deserve this. I was in tears, because like I didn't even get like any rest or anything. I had, you know, all these people I love, they betrayed me, and I had to, I had to, heal from that, and they didn't give me no breaks, like nothing, and so that's what I had to go through, and and it took me as much time as long as I have till now, and I know other people like you know maybe a little bit impatient or whatever, but I really will feel into the things, and I don't just I do it when I'm ready, is when I make that's when I move forward. Not unless I feel compelled, because sometimes God will, I'll feel compelled to do something, and then I'll do it, But I've always been led from in here. God's only spoken to me twice. The first time He didn't really, say anything. Well, He let me know the devil was real. So if the devil was real, there has to be the other half, because that's all I've experienced my whole life. Unless it's going to be the devil and then worse than the devil, shit. you know. So there has to be the opposite of that. Um, so there's a, so he said that, and the other time was, he said, for me to trust myself. He said for me to trust myself that I'm God. Said it really light. This is probably like in 2021, maybe 2020, 2021. But yeah, that's what he had said. For me to trust myself, I'm God. And then the last time was when I called out, after Paul had left, and I asked him, to help me, and he did, and my ancestors and spirit team, my guides, they definitely helped me, a lot, and I appreciate it. Appreciate like everybody that's helped me. There's been a lot of confusion, this shit, YouTube, you know. I'm over that, I already know I won. I'm victorious, I'm defending my victory. Um, I'm standing in my power, you know. It'd be nice to be able to have a little rest, um, but just it wasn't like they're trying to be all like all nice to me, and in the way that they handled stuff, you know. So would have been nice, but it is what it is. But I will remember this because that's how I teach people. I teach people from my past. Okay, um, everything that I've been through. See, this is where they, uh, my dark side, comes with me. I don't leave them behind. They're part of me, and I think that a lot of people, they don't really understand it like that, because once you've healed, you should be able to talk to people about what you went through. But see, that part of you is like you died to that self. So now, you're renewed. So now, like, you could talk about it, and it's not gonna be sensitive, you know. So you'll be able to help somebody, and kind of like, make fun of yourself, I guess, and some, yeah, like, I was that guy, fucking, I was that fool, I was that idiot, that was me, that's what I did, I would do this. And that's what I'll tell people, um, in different situation, in whatever part of my life that I'm sharing as an example, to somebody, to help them. Um, but that's how I do stuff, you know. But I'm a big proponent for, the world needs to change. It needs to change for the better. It needs to change, like, that. Um, instead of this disempowering, and what we've seen, it's like, now, we need to take a step, the, to the better direction, and empower each other, empower, bring out the abilities within us. Everybody has them. Just got to learn how to tap into them, and I'll assist on that, and music. We'll definitely have music, for sure. So it's going on an hour and 55 minutes, hour and 56. No, 2 hours. Shit. Okay. So anyhow, my testimony is having God with me, and surviving all this. Um, you know, because of God, and I appreciate and very grateful, and that I get kind of weary, sometimes, going through all this stuff, I did get weary sometimes, to start to question, but when it all comes down to it, like, yeah, to God, all the way, wouldn't give up. Um, but it's just being honest, because when you're waiting for something to happen, and just like, it's being attacked and attacked, all this stuff, and like, more stuff getting worse, and just kind of sucks sometimes, just like, geez, like, but but it was part of my story that I had to go through. But I'm here, and it made me who I am now, and I'm a person that does care. I don't. I wouldn't go through this and just want to be evil to people. I couldn't do that. There's some people. Was it rock bottom mentality? He's another one I listen to sometimes. He's good. But you can't give that back to somebody. The pain that you went through. Once you learn, like, once you overcome that, um, to give that to somebody else, it's hard. So you're kind. It's not weakness. It's just that. But it gives you something you can relate to somebody in that aspect. So when you've been through something and somebody else is going through it, you're not going to be mad at that person. You're not going to, like, forget them. You understand them. So therefore you're able to communicate with somebody that's going through that, because you've been there. So sometimes I think in therapy, and psychology and people that go through this trauma and stuff that they go through. It's the approach. Um, a lot of people tell people, "Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that," you know, rather than having a conversation with them and just really just trying to understand and hear them, listen to them. So it's important, because a lot of times they just want to be heard and they're just not getting heard. So, well, I'm going to wrap this up. Let's see how it works. I'll just go ahead and send it out just like this and see what happens. But, Richard Six, or, Richard Aguilar Jr., and son of the Most High God, Commander, and see you soon. Peace.